as a man, tend to keep myself out of it.
What if a woman wanted to kill your sister? You think you'd have a say in that? Talk to you, Braden, was it? Caden. Yeah, good to talk to you, Caden. How are you doing, man?
Me, I'm good.
Good? What do you think of all this?
As a man, tend to keep myself out of it, like, generally, against it.
Yeah? What makes you think you have to keep out of it being a man? Is it just because of pressure of people, or do you actually think that logically? Or
I mean, I don't think I should have a say in how someone leads their life.
Yeah? Do you have a brother?
Me? No, sir.
No?
Your sister.
What if a woman wanted to kill your sister? Do you think you'd have a say in that?
I would.
So you'd have a say in how that woman lived her life.
Fair.
But what if that same woman wanted to kill her own child? You're saying you don't think you need a say in it?
I mean, why? I don't get a say when someone gets murdered randomly here in Columbus.
Yeah, but you can say you think it's wrong.
I do think it's wrong.
And you could say you think we should have laws against it, right? Or we should have, statutes to punish the person after, right?
And do you think it's punishable in any case?
No, I don't think so. I think that there's some cases that are a little more difficult to handle where I start with this premise. Whatever question someone asks, the answer is never kill a baby, all right? So then the next thing that comes up is, okay, let's say there's a hard situation. What do we do? Well, the answer is always try to take care of all the people involved the best we can. So you bring up the 10-year-old girl that got raped by her dad or something. Okay, horrible situation. I think the rapist should be punished appropriately according to the law, which I actually think probably should be the death penalty, but people might disagree on that one. But killing that girl's baby isn't the solution to any of her problems. Helping her to have a healthy pregnancy and then helping her through maybe an adoption process, if that's the right answer for her, whatever it is. But just going in and killing her baby is only going to make a bad situation worse for her, I think. Even though in her mind, maybe being pregnant and having a baby is a horrible situation, but murder's just plain murder is the problem. You have a couple, go ahead.
What if there's a complication of the pregnancy?
Yeah, like the life of the mother thing. So, if a woman is legitimately in danger because of her pregnancy, all right, where the pregnancy is what's going to kill her, which is almost impossible for anyone to have been, people have been wrong about that so many times that it's almost kind of a joke that it gets brought up. But if somebody really thought pregnancy was going to kill a woman, I think you give her medical care. You monitor her, you help her, and if she's ever in so much distress that oh wow, she's going to die if she stays pregnant, well, there's ways to end a pregnancy other than killing a child. One of them is just called delivery. And you try to save the baby and the mother the best you can. And at some point, a doctor needs to conscientiously want to save both. And but I've read so many stories now of people that just said, my doctor said if I stayed pregnant, I'd die and I needed to abort. Or my doctor said my kid was going to have Down syndrome and I needed to abort. And I've just read so many of these stories where people say, we chose not to and everything's fine. And it's like it's almost like this phantom thing that, but I do think you should care for people, just like if you and I both went to the hospital right now, the doctor's job would be to try to save both of us if we were both dying.
Yeah, and I am against it for the most part. And thank you so much, but that is all the time I have.
What's your name?
I'm Drew. Nice to meet you.
Drew?
Yes, sir.
My name's Michael. It's good to meet you too. Where are you from? Oh, cool. Here, take one of those. I've been out a couple times.
Oh, cool.
You know what where is?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I've never heard that argument. Well, it depends on if you think humans are wolves and sheep.
I think some humans act like wolves, and some of them end up like sheep. How you doing?
What do you think of Ohio voting on abortion to keep it in Ohio?
That one we just did last
Yeah.
thing or whatever. Yeah, I was disappointed about that. I thought it was the wrong wrong way to vote.
Uh-huh.
Definitely seems to indicate, well, it seems to indicate that like, it's kind of becoming a more general view of people that abortion's okay. Now, of course,
it was for a while with Roe v. Wade federally, but now,
yeah, that was a Supreme Court decision. But I also am questioning whether a majority of all those votes was just from like 7 major cities.
well, I mean, it's just the popular vote, right?
That's how that one was. Yeah, it's just so if you get 51% of Ohio,
I
which
guess it doesn't matter if it comes from the cities, does it?
well, it doesn't necessarily represent what like Ohio has 88 counties, right?
Yeah.
And some of those counties are more or less sparsely populated than others. So the fact that a few more populated counties can make a decision like that for the whole state is probably a civic error on the government side. That's not how that's not how Ohio should function.
Do you think it should be based on the counties?
Yeah, I don't know how it all should work, but I know that just having a lot of people that can show up to change something like that's probably not right. But it's a different problem how a constitutional change like that can be made than whether it's right or wrong either too. So
I've never heard that argument that it should be not a popular vote, but just because
well, that was actually the vote in the previous election before that one was a vote on whether to change how the Constitution can be changed. And that was issue 2 or something in the previous election where
it's ratified by most of the...
Yeah, where what they tried to do is say it had to be 60% of the popular and it had to be so many counties or something because basically just because you can kind of sneak things in the way it was. And if you're forced to have to get more counties that all at least give their opinion, you get a better idea of what the great state of Ohio wants. And what I meant by that is like the whole state.
Yeah.
So it's just that's more of a civics question. I don't know if I know the answer to how that should work, but
I think I would probably be in the camp that the popular vote, regardless of county, is more important and more representative because all the people rather than all the counties. Because why would a county like Franklin County have the same say as one of the counties in the corners of our state where they don't have too many people?
Well, same reason why we do an electoral college and not popular vote for president.
Well, but we do popular vote to get the electoral votes in Ohio. You don't do it by county, you know?
Actually, the delegates are that way. There's more to it that way, but
take all state.
But the thing is like the fact that you can sort of change the Constitution. It's one thing to say, should we do this one thing and take a popular vote? I don't know if popular vote's always the right answer to stuff, though. I mean, all you need, what if you had 2 wolves and a sheep and you're voting on what's for dinner, right?
Well, it depends on if you think humans are wolves and sheep.
Well, I think
against each other.
I think some humans act like wolves, and some of them end up like sheep. So when the popular vote allows 51% of the people in the state to end up taxing the rest of them, so they can get government checks or something, which is exactly what happens, with a lot of these taxes that get voted on. It's really not a fair way of doing things. So. But I think government has certain functions it should fulfill. And so you kind of have to start there. Like, what do you think government's function is, right? And if I think government's function, for example, is like enforcing what should be right and wrong legally, then the government should be enforcing criminalization of murder.
Yeah.
And then we need to define what murder is, apparently, because a bunch of people think it's not murder to just kill your child.
Most people in Ohio.
Yeah, yes. And so the fact that most people in Ohio are wrong about what murder is,
according to you.
Well, according to like all sensibility, God, like the history of time.
Well, but maybe not all of Ohioans believe in God.
Well, they still have to obey the rules.
Well, the rules set forward by the people, because the government is
Well, yeah.
representative of the people, not representative of God.
Yeah, but the government's job is to be a servant of God. And so, like, you take Nazi
I don't
Germany.
think that's true at all.
Oh, that's exactly why
Government's
God.
job is to be a servant of God.
That's exactly why God instituted government was to do that. And so it's like, take Nazi Germany. A very popular vote at the time was, well, we got to kill the Jews. That's what people agreed with.
Well, so
And
do you-
it's objectively wrong. Can you say that?
Do you think that church and state should be separated?
I think that the state should not have any say in what the church does.
Do you
Yeah.
think the church should have any say in what the state does?
Absolutely. Because the state is a function of the people and the people go to church.
What if the church says we are a church that believes in human sacrifice? Does the state then have the right to say what the church does? Because I mean that would
Yeah, that's where it's a really interesting question, because there are certain behaviors that are just objectively moral evils, right? Like human sacrifice,
yeah.
like abortion, for example, with just
Well,
human
I mean,
sacrifice. Yeah,
Objectively to some, subjectively to most. I mean, I think it's. I believe in abortion. I think it's all right. And
Well,
we
so-
just
but
agree,
so-
we disagree
yeah.
on that. So then you
Yeah, but that's what I'm saying is, like-
you allow a vote to happen, and then you allow the people to decide.
well, no, because if enough people just want to do evil,
If enough people,
we have a problem, right?
Well-
We need to prosecute evil, not permit it.
I mean, I don't believe
So-
it.
I don't think just because lots of people want to do something, we should just let them do it.
Well, I mean, we're a representative country. If you wanted to have a dictatorial country where one person is in charge and they decide what's evil and good, then it makes it a lot more simple. But since we're a representative democracy, then you get to vote on things
So what
that
if?
represent you or just the population.
So would it be cool then if we just voted and if at least 50+1% of us said we think rape's okay? Would you be like, well, that's fine then?
Well, I wouldn't vote for that.
Well, sure, but would you be okay with it then once it passed? If we could maybe sneak it in and get enough people to vote, and not tell other people what it was about, you'd say, well, that's what they voted for, it's okay? Or would you say, wait, that's just wrong?
We can't listen to the vote. Is that what you would say about issue 1 last time it was voted on? That enough people, it's snuck by enough people.
Well, yeah,
that it
I
should
think.
be upheld.
See, I think issue 1 was invalid on its surface. So you can't just codify murder. I think we need to reject that outright.
So, like
But I understand what you're saying, that there are some inconsistencies with how you have to deal with some of those intricacies. Yeah.
so if I think in the Netherlands, if you're like really old or really sick, you can, elect to.
Yeah, get an assisted suicide or whatever.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Do you believe that's murder?
Yes, I do.
I do not.
Yeah.
So, I mean, when you say codify murder looks different depending on who you're talking to. So,
Well,
why should it be based on one person's views rather than another's when you just have a vote and then the populace decides?
then it's still just subjective.
Yes, it is.
Yeah.
But you just got to go off of what the majority of people think rather than.
Well, and you can look through history at how that's worked for humanity, but I think that going by what God has said is going to be the best way to do things. So
You do, but other people with other gods do not.
well, yeah, absolutely. That's why I'm out here telling people about the one true God, so they can know about Him, that they might believe and turn to Him for forgiveness of sins, as well as to learn what true righteousness and justice look like.
Yeah.
So I completely get what you're saying, that lots of people disagree. If they didn't, I'd be at home in the warm right now with my kid, So like, that's why I'm here. Now, how to solve all the detailed governmental stuff, I'll admit that can be really hard. And
It's a mess.
yeah, and I think, yeah.
All right. Going on, it's raining now.
All right, man. Well, hey, it's good to talk to you. I'm Michael.
Carson.
Carson, good to talk to you. Take one of those with you. Thanks for talking to me, man. You were real respectful. So, like, we could go on forever about differences between the things, and there's things Protestants do that you probably think are really stupid. I probably agree with a lot of them. But ultimately, when you stand before God, the question is God going to see you as somebody who's wholly resting upon Jesus,